Who is here with me? I think you are live already. Alright, who is live with me? Is anybody here with me? I'll be glad if I can see one or two people join me live soon. If you can hear me or you're here with me, can I see you? Can I hear a hi? If nobody is here yet, let's wait and see who is going to join me soon. Who is going to be the first person to join me soon? Okay, let me wait a little bit. It's 1 minute already since I've been here. Wow, at last somebody is here with me. Thank you for giving me that thumbs up. Can I know who is live with me? Facebook is not allowing me to see anybody. If you can hear me audibly, kindly please drop me a hi and do well to leave me your location. I'm talking to you all the way from Ibadan. So my name is Shakirat Oluokun, popularly called Always Shakaro. If you are joining me for the first time, that's my name, that's who I am. So in the past few months, we have been talking about issues surrounding emotions and how we can navigate emotions as parents and how we can model this behavior to our children. Because I personally believe, and it's, in fact, it's a general truth, that parents are the first school of thoughts. They are the first school of their children. So in whatever we do, even the ones that we do unconsciously, our children pick onto them and they learn consciously or, not, or unconsciously from us. And because parenting is a journey that has to do with a lot of emotions, is a kind of emotion. There's a usually kind of emotional roller coaster when it comes to raising children. Especially as mothers, we have to be very careful of the way we handle ourselves and in terms of expressing our emotions with our children because they pick onto those things. So in the past few months, we have been talking about these issues, how we can navigate ourselves and our emotions while not modeling wrongly to our children. So in the past few weeks, we have talked about wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much for joining us, ma'am. I know Habiba. Thank you very much, ma'am. So in the past few weeks, we have talked about self-awareness, how we can improve them. We have talked about the implementation plan, the improvement plan, and activities that we can use to improve our self-awareness skills. And after that, we talked about self-management skills. It's not enough for us to just be aware of ourselves. How can we manage ourselves? Some of us we are good at managing our emotions than the other person. So sometimes you can be somebody that is temperamental and your friend might be someone that is just so cool. Even amidst children, we have children that you have some children that are just strong-willed. You tell them not to do something, they will question it, they will query you. And you have the other child that is just so cool. You tell them to do something, they are willing to do it. My foster son, for example, is somebody that is cool-headed. You tell him not to do something, he will go. But my son will query you, will ask you, why do you ask me not to do it? Is a strong-willed child. So understanding that this dealing with children differently, with different temperament and personality, is a lot of work. So you are like, there's this particular child that's just giving me that want to give me heart attack, and you ask us not to beat, you ask us not to yell, but there is a science behind that because each child is created differently. We are all wired differently, and it is not possible for us to treat each person the same way. That is why it's important that we first start with ourselves. Understanding ourselves first as parents will guide us in how we can handle and understand our children better. It all begins with self awareness. So, we've talked about how we can manage ourselves so far. So, today, I think last week we talked about self management tools. I share with us tools that we can use to manage our emotions when we find ourselves almost losing our cool. That is when we are out of control. So today we are going to be talking about the activities for improvement. That is improvement plan. It's not just enough to just know those tools. It's also important that we try to put in plans on how we can actually Know that you are improving. You can say, okay, I've known that it's not good to shout, it's not good to just yell at my children. Okay, I won't do that again. But how are you going to start doing that? You might have learned tools that you can use to manage your emotions as a parent. Okay, they say I should just go and sit down in a place when I'm hungry. They say I should not yell at my child. They say I should not beat my child. But how do I know that I'm improving? How do you know that you're improving? That is why improvement plan is important. It's important that you have a plan on how you can do that, where you can audit yourself from time to time for you to be sure that all that you are learning is just not, you're not just wasting your time hearing some things, you're not just wasting your data listening to some things. There must be a plan for you that, okay, in the next 1 month, I want to have a data, I want to have a journal that can prove to me that I've been improving. So today, that's all we are here to do. If you're just joining us, my name is Shakirat Olokun, popularly called Always Shakaro. You can do well to leave me a height. It makes it more interactive for me to know those I'm talking to, and it's also part of social skills for us to introduce ourselves when we get to a gathering. So please, I will appreciate if you leave me a hi. I will see your name so I can know who is joining me live. Thank you as you do so. So before we start, last week I said we talked about management tools, and I mentioned some tools for us. If you missed that session, you can go back to catch a replay on my YouTube channel, The Purposeful Parent, Shakirat Olokun, The Purposeful Parents. Parents, you can see that, you can search that. I think if you look at the past videos too in this group, you'll find the link to my YouTube channel there. So the first thing we have to know that for us to improve, to have a plan on how to improve, we must have something that we can see. You just don't plan in your head. Of course, there are some things that we plan in our head, but it's better for us to have it written down. There's a lot of difference between somebody that write down a goal and someone that does not write it down. Believe me, most times we plan a lot of things in our head. Okay, I want to do this, I want to do that. But once you write it down, research has shown, and it has been proven that somebody that writes down a goal has a higher percent of achieving it than somebody that does not write it down. So you are trying to improve yourself. You're trying to have an improvement plan on how you can manage yourself. Please have somewhere that you write it. It makes it more easier for you to audit yourself. So you can always look back at it and say, wow, so this is what I wrote some months back. So this is where I am now. It makes it easier for you to see how far and how long you have come. So I advise you that you have a diary, or you have a jotter or a book or anything that you can write on. It can even be your phone. But I prefer writing with my hands, pen and my hand, because there's a science behind writing with your hand. It stacks your brain and it makes it more natural and more real. So you can ask yourself, where am I currently? That's why I said this is a series, something that you have to, if you miss a particular session, it might be difficult for you to understand what you're saying. But if you are paying attention enough, believe me, you're going to learn one or two things during this session. Thank you very much for joining us. Olawo Rashidat Ibrahim. Thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciate that. So you can start with asking yourself, where am I currently? We all know ourselves. Just like the Yoruba saying we say that okokun lekun koninu mamonu. Yeah, how will I translate that in English now? I'm not a grammarian. That is, no matter how bad we are, we know ourselves. Let me just use it that way. Let me not go and blow one stupid grammar here. So it means that we know ourselves. No matter how much how dark a place is, we know what is within us. We know our weaknesses. Even though we cannot know our weaknesses or our strength in totality, in 100%, but to a reasonable extent, we know our faults. It's not enough for people to lie to us. The worst form of lie is when we lie to ourselves. You can deceive other people, but deceiving yourself is the worst thing you can do to yourself. So we know ourselves. It's not enough for us to know that I have a problem, or hiding, or living in denial. Many of us live in denial. We know that this problem continues to persist. We know that this problem is from us, but we don't want to accept it. So for you to be able to improve yourself, you have to be you have to take a brutal audit of yourself, of your emotional life. Ask yourself, where am I currently in terms of my emotional life? Is it that I'm always blaming people? Is it that I always believe that it's somebody that is responsible for the way I react or the way I respond? Is it that I'm always looking for somebody to tag, to name, to blame for my situation? So ask yourself, cognitively, where are you? Emotionally, where are you? And also, you can ask yourself by asking other people too. You can get that answer by asking other people. So just look at me in the past 1 year, 2020, 2020 for example, there have been a lot of activities, even the one that we've not planned for. COVID, for example, is a typical example. We were not planning for it, but it came. And thank God we survived. We are surviving now. But it's not enough to survive. We can also thrive. So you can ask people by asking yourself, currently, where am I now? Do I want to change? It's not enough for you to hear people say, it's not good to beat my children, it's not good to yell, it's not good to do this, to do that. But if you are not willing to change, nobody can force you to change. Ask yourself honestly, do I really want this to continue in my home? We need to tell ourselves the honest question. Are you happy with the situation in your home? Are you happy with the way your children yell at each other? Are you happy with the way things are with your relationship with your child? These are the ways you can ask yourself honest questions so you can start to work on your improvement plan. There's always room for improvement. They said the widest room in the world is that of improvement. So the room for improvement is as wide as the whole world. As much as we are still living, there's still room for improvement. So ask yourself, on a scale of 1 to 10, how am I interested in people? It's important that we know that before we can become emotionally intelligent as parents, we must be interested in people, our children inclusive. That is, it's not just about you. It's not about making everything about you. Your child is doing something, you're getting angry, you're getting furious. You're not thinking about why the child is doing that. So how much are you interested in people? Is it just about my own way? No, it's my way or the highway. You must be interested in people. For you to manage yourself, you must also be interested in other people. That is, people, maybe perhaps people that gets you angry in the first place, people that make you vent your anger, people that make you lose your cool. You must be interested in knowing why that is happening from their parts. And in this case, we are talking about our children. So these things are important. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much are you interested in people? That is your children in this case. Are you interested in knowing their own emotional life? So are you interested in knowing how they feel? I used to say that a room that does not talk in a home that we don't talk about feelings is like it's not a home. A home that we don't talk about how we feel, that we don't talk about our emotions, is not a home. It's important that we talk about emotions in homes because this is the one of the things that drive our behavior. It drives our behavior, and that's one of the things that make us human. So it's important that we start talking about feelings and paying attention to children and how they feel. Thank you for joining us, Murtado Bello. Thank you for joining us. It's important that we pay attention to feelings because it's the driver of our behavior. The major thing that drives our behavior is the way we feel about the situation or about a person or about anything. It drives our behavior. But it's not enough for us to feel and act on our feelings. But when we begin to talk about feelings, it makes it more easier for us to put in plans that will work for each person, each individual. So ask yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, how interested are you in your children? Are you really interested in them? Are you asking questions? Are you involving them? You must involve your children in whatever you are doing because one, they are going to lead. We can't continue to lead them forever. We can't continue to command them forever. It's important that we start involving them right from now. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how interested are you in people? Are you that person that is and and how do you interpret their behavior? So what area of self-management do you need to improve on? That's why I said that you must have watched some series before now, because I talked about how we can manage ourselves in the past series. How do you in part of that series I talked about the tools we can use to improve ourselves, and one of them is that I mentioned that we can take we ourselves can take a time out. Many a times when parents want to discipline their children, they tell them to take time out. I don't subscribe to that because I believe that it is us that need to do it first so that our children can see it. When they see us do that, they will also automatically practice it. But asking a child to take time out does not teach the child how to manage himself. It only teach the child, make the child feels as if I'm not loved. It seems they are sending me away because I misbehaved. You are passing a wrong message indirectly. But the truth is that you can't. I do take time out when my children do something I don't like. For example, day before yesterday, I was in the room, I was busy. I think I was working on a project, and they were making noise. I told them, please, you are making noise. And one of the rules is that when I talk 3 times, the third time I'm going to do something that you not like. Well, you not like in the sense that I'm going to take my own personal responsibility. I now said it again the second time. You are disturbing me, please, guys. Don't make noise. I said, we are sorry, mom. Before I could know again, children decided shouting again. I just packed my load. When I was about starting, I said, we are very sorry, mom. We'll not do that again. We'll not shout again. I packed my things and I left the room for them. That's it. You are teaching them that if you cannot adjust to my own needs, I can adjust to your own needs. It means it's not about being permissive. It's not permissive. You are teaching them because when they go outside and somebody is frustrating them too, they know that they don't have control over the person's behavior. They have control over their own behavior. They have control over how they respond to other people. So I took my book and I left the room. I left their room. I went to my own room. And they were begging me. I left there. I spent like 20 minutes before I came back. They came back to my door. We are very sorry, mommy. We are very sorry, mommy. I went there for like 10 or 15, 20 minutes before I came back. And they started apologizing. I stood back in their room. We did what we are planning to do. And that was it. So it's about modeling these things to our children. So self-management tools are not just for you to just know. It's for you to actually use them. Use them in the real essence. So improvement plan that I'm talking about now is about you putting in place in written form what you intend to do. Let's say we are in the month of December now. Throughout this month of December, I think we have up to 5 weekends in December. What are you going to do in those 5 weeks that you can actually use to audit yourself and look how far you have gone? So in what area of self-management do you need to improve on? I talked about emotional rules, so you can catch a replay on my YouTube channel. So you should ask yourself those questions and pick one of the tools that you find easier for you to start with. You can't pick all of them. One of the tools that I use personally is the walk away tool. I use it a lot and it works for me a lot. And my children to do it a lot too. We will have reasons to offend children. So sometimes you do things that your children do not like, and you see them because they are children, they might not be able to yell at us, but they will have a way of telling you that you have done something that hurts them. And my child will always say, mommy, you upset me. You upset me just now, mom. And it's walking away. No, we will not say that first. We'll first walk away. And I'll say, what happened to you? We say, you made me upset. You said this, you said that. It's about teaching children that it's not because they are children. People can hurt them, but they can express themselves in a more healthy and mature way. They can express themselves without being violent. They can express themselves without being a bully, without yelling. And when we practice these things, our children will see them life and direct, and they will practice it too. So another thing you can do is that what step will you take to improve? I've said that before, that it's not enough for us to just know these tools. But what step are you going to take to improve? Is it that you have to involve your family? Is it that you have to call your children together and talk to them about these things? That okay, hello kids, for the pie, I have noticed that I think we need to have a change in this room, in this house. It's almost time for us to make resolution. Normally, many of us make New Year resolutions by December. And I'm ready for you to call them. What are we going to change in this room? Let's talk about it. Are you happy with the way things are? Children might not be able to think by themselves, but you can tell them that you're not happy about the situation of everything in the house, and you think there should be a change in things, in the way things are run. And one of the things is that you want to start talking about feelings and start changing things. And start talking about things. I know that, please don't excuse me. And start working on things that you can use to improve. Involve your children, carry them along. The more we involve children in things, believe me, the more they are willing to comply, and the more we have lesser reasons to shout or yell at them or beat them. That's the truth. I've found it to be true because I've seen the changes in my own home. But when we just think we can just impose on children, we can just vent our anger without carrying them along, they do things sometimes not because they really want to do hurt us, but because they lack the skills to do what we are expecting of them. So carry them along. What plan do you want to put in place? What effort are you trying to put in place? What are the things you're going to do now to make that improvement? Is it that you have to first of all involve? I don't know. It's about you asking yourself. Personally, when I wanted to start my own journey to not beating, the first thing I did was to start with myself. I challenge myself for a days that I'm not going to beat for a particular days. And I found that I didn't beat children, although I found that I was yelling. I started yelling. And I realized that because I was not beating, the next rescue tool for me was to yell automatically. So I had to also work on that. So you can ask yourself, what are the improvement plan you're going to take first? Is it that you're going to challenge yourself not to beat regardless of what happened? Or you're going to involve people, someone that is going to hold you accountable when you beat and you pay a particular sum of amounts? It's about what you want for yourself and your family. It begins from the sacrifices that you make now to do those things. So what steps should you take that will make you take to improve to start those improvement plan? Is it about making conscious efforts to create those plans and involve your children? Ask yourself. So and the next one is that how would you know if you are improving? Yes, it must be measurable. Anything that is not measurable is not realistic. Yes, when it comes to this issue, I think I read a quote some times ago that if it is not measurable, then I can't remember the quote again. But if it's not measurable, truly you must be able to measure how far you are going and how far you have come. I know I'm still on scale on a level of on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm still on 3. Okay, I still have 7 to go. Oh, I think I've improved. I was once in 3. I think I'm now in 5. So there was a book that I read then, and one of my coaches that did it is about yelling. I think how to tamper your child's tantrum, and also another one is from yelling to calm. One of the books that I got for myself then was to enroll for a challenge, and in that challenge we were told about yelling meters. That is there's a yelling there's a yell there are grades to yelling. Of course, there are sometimes that you find your child doing things that might hurt them. For a toddler, for example, maybe a toddler that is going to pour hot substance on himself, you have to yell for the child to not get there sometimes. So in that book, they were telling us about yelling meters and yellow meters and how you can know if you are going overboard with yelling, and the ones that can affect our lungs and our health. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much for joining us. Mutumaina Zayyad. Thank you very much for joining us today. So, one of the things you can, in that book, I learned about yelling because I graduated from beating. I moved to yelling. I had to also get another tool that will assist me on the journey. So it's about what you want. It's about what you want. If you find it that if you know that you want children that will not yell at people, you want children that well coordinated, that are in control of themselves, then it begins from you modeling those things to your children. We can't set a standard that we have not attained to our children. It's not possible. Life does not work that way. You must have attained a particular level, certain standard before you expect your children to follow suit. So that's double standard. So you can ask yourself that how would you know if you're improving? By getting what? By making audits of yourself. It could be that you ask yourself, just like I said that in my own case, because I graduated, I used to beat before and I wanted to stop beating. I challenged myself not to beat for a particular day. For some days, 10 days precisely. And after that 10 days, I found out that during that 10 days, I found out that I hoped for yelling because I wanted to drop beating. I started yelling. And that's when I realized that I did again was to get tools that will assist me to stop yelling. And one of the tools that I get is I bought a book and I enrolled for courses. And with that, I was able to learn about other things, the other effects of yelling on my own personal health and on my children. So it's one of the things that knowledge will do for you, improvement plan will do for you. That is, you're trying to improve yourself so that you can become better and you will know how far you have come. So it could be that you are going to challenge yourself. It could be that you're going to get a book to read. It could be that you're going to get somebody to hold you accountable. The point here is that ask yourself how would you know if you are improving? And for you to know if you are improving, you must be able to measure your progress. Yes, if it's not measurable, it is not what it's then it must be measurable. That okay, in the past 1 month, I think I was on the yelling meter. When I enrolled for that course, I was on yellow meter 5, 5 to 6. But by the time But as at the end of that course, but during the course of that course, and before the end of a month, I moved to kilometer 3. So this is something that is measurable. You must know why you are yelling and the reason for your yelling and the effect of them. You must know if you are improving. It's not about just reading those books or just getting them. You must be able to say that truly I've improved. And one of the things that I also know is learned is that the effect of yelling on our children is far more drastic than that has on us, because your child, when you yell at your child is not actually yelling you. You cannot actually hear you, because there's a particular part of your child's brain that is on active mode. Then it's called the amygdala, and once the amygdala is on active mode, your child cannot reason, your child cannot think. This is what science have said. This is not my own formulation. So it's important that when we are trying to raise our children, we look at it from the perspective of what will the effect of my actions have on my child. If not now, in the next 5 years, there are some things that we will not see the results now immediately and think it's okay because you're not seeing the results. You think you are okay, but give it time. When it's 5, 10 years time, when you now see the result on your child, unfortunately, it will be irreversible. And we don't want that for our children. It begins from us taking conscious and deliberate efforts to change ourselves so that our children can see it in us, and they also can model. You can practice what you are teaching and what you are preaching and what you are modeling. So maybe you can also opt for one of the ways that you can use to know if you're improving is for you to ask for feedback from your family members. You can ask your spouse, your husband, if you're a man, if you're a woman. You can ask your wife if you're a man. You can ask your friends, those that are close to you, those that know you. Don't ask people that just see you once in a while. Ask those that are close to you, those that witness you, that knows you in total. Because truly, it is those that are close to us that knows us. Those that are close to us that see us every now and then. Because they are the ones that will witness our flaws. They are the ones that will witness up to us doing our ups and downs. So it's important that you get feedback from your family members too. It could be your relative, your close friends, and the likes. So the last question for you to improve on the improvement plan is for you. I'm asking you now, when are you going to start? When do you intend to start? When do you intend to start? It's not enough to say, I know that this is the way. Oh, I know that it's not good to do this. I know that it's not good to do that. But when do you intend to stop doing what you're doing and doing the right thing? It's not enough to say, I know that this is the way. Oh, but I'm not ready to start now. When do you intend to start? Remember that the longer it takes us on a wrong route, on a wrong journey, the farther we are to the right destination. I will say that again. The longer we spend on a wrong route, the farther we are to get to the right destination. So it depends on what you want. Ask yourself today, what is that thing that you want as regard the goals for your children, the goals for yourself, the goals for your home, and when do you intend to start putting in plans to fit into those goals, to make those goals achievable to you? So I'm asking you again, when do you intend to start? All that we have been teaching in the past few months, have you been practicing them, or when do you intend to start? Thank you very much, Mulikat Anila Saba. I really appreciate that, ma'am. You're welcome to. You're not leaving me emojis, oh. You're not leaving me thumbs up. It seems I'm just too boring. No problem. So that's my question for you today. Thank you for joining me again today. I do really appreciate it, and I do not take it for granted. It's not enough to say I want to come and teach you one of the things, the changes that I've seen in my own personal life, if you are not willing to listen to me. So you are as important to me as anything, and I do not take your commitments and your accolades for granted. I really do appreciate them. So till I come again your way again next week, by God's grace, do well to stay tuned and practice all that we have taught. We have learned rather. I really believe in practice. I believe in practice because if you know me before, you know the definition of practice. If you know me before, you know the definition of practice. And I believe so much that the more we take action, the better we become. The more we take action, the better we become. I'm not so I'm not so bright. I'm not so bright, but I tell you that it is practice that getting me to where I am today. I'm not your regular things that I will just accumulate and learn. I believe so much in practice. So I encourage you to please catch a replay of the previous section if you can and do practice them. Do practice them. To practice them. There is no achievement to our destination without action. Action must be it must be backed up with action. So I wish you all a wonderful and memorable and fun and fantastic weekend ahead. And I do hope that you have a fantastic time with your family. Bye. Do have a lovely weekend. Bye.